Governors elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party this week rose from their summit in Ibadan, Oyo State, having taken a position on the long-running crisis over the position of the party's national secretary. In the wake of a Supreme Court ruling on the matter, the battle for that position had raged between two senators for some time, between Senator Samuel Anyanwu and Sunday Udeh-Okoye. Well, the sheer optics of having the two men engage in a no-holds-barred public scuffle at some point could have been a principal factor in forcing the governors to reject the choice of either of them in favor of appointing the Deputy National Secretary, Setonji Koshe-Edo, as acting National Secretary. Well, now we are being joined by PDP Chieftain Daboikiabo Warmate to discuss the governor's decision and how it could help to resolve the crisis. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here on Newsday.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the Supreme Court left it up to the PDP to decide who their leadership would fall, whose hands it would fall into, and they've made their decision. In your opinion, is this enough to satiate the crisis that was caused by these two warring gentlemen? And also, how have you observed differences within the party, if any, since the announcement of the national secretary?
Well, let me start by saying thank you for having me once again. There is no dispute to the fact that we have one national secretary, and the national secretary is the most distinguished Senator Samuel Anyanwu. The resolution of the governors is their own opinion. They are just like every support group within the PDP, with due respect to them, because if you look at the constitution of the PDP, there is no section the Governors Forum is mentioned in our constitution. So we consider the communique, the moreover resolution 2 of the communique of the PDP's Governors Forum, as an opinion of the Governors Forum and not a resolution binding on the party. Now let me, throw more light on this issue. In our constitution, part 1, section 2, it is clear that the Constitution is the grand norm of our party. So whatever you are doing, being you a governor, being you NWC member, BOT, NEC member, you must walk in line, in consonance with the Constitution. Now, what is the issue? They have claimed that Section 47(5) demands the National Secretary to resign before contesting election. And we said, no, there is nothing like that. And it is very clear. The Constitution said may resign. Section 47(3) said may resign. And another premise which they went to court was that 48(1), that when you assume an office, you cannot assume dual office. And I have the Constitution here, which, with the permission of everyone in the studio, to read that there is no such thing that after assuming Section 48(1) rather said, it says, subject to the provision of this Constitution, any member holding any office in the party at any level shall deem to have resigned that office if he or she assumes any of the following offices. And it went ahead to enumerate all the positions that if you assume, you automatically vacate the office you are occupying. But look at the list. There is no position mentioned as the position of the candidacy of the party. You see governor, you see deputy governor, minister, president, vice president, state assembly, secretary to the government, but there is nothing mentioned in our constitution as candidate of the party. When you become the candidate of the party, you vacate the office you are occupying as a national working committee member. There is nothing like that. So in that premise, they are wrong. Secondly, Section 47(5) said any officer elected into the executive committee of the party at any level may resign his or her office by giving 30 days notice in writing to the appropriate executive committee. It's not shall resign. So this section are what people have been misinterpreting. And to say that, I want to read a section which they said, because if there is no vacancy, there is no way the governors will have the powers to appoint an acting national secretary. In this case, Anyanwu did not resign at any point in time. This is his letter, even signed by the deputy national secretary to INEC when he was going to contest his election. This is a letter signed by Anyanwu, signed by the deputy national secretary, and signed by the national chairman that is going on his annual vacation. So there was no point in time Anyanwu resigned his position as national secretary. That means, the implication of that is that he remains the national chairman with the judgment of the Supreme Court. So the governors are wrong. Their position is alien to the Constitution. Their position is not in our Constitution. So that position of the governors from the Resolution 2 cannot stand. Anyanwu remains the national secretary as we speak today. If the governors have issue with that, they should see how they can resolve it. Because you cannot remove a national officer. The Constitution has prescribed how a national officer can be removed. If you look at section, what is it called? Section 33, 5B, it is stated there. The National Convention elects and removes national officers, not the Governors Forum, not anybody. And the governors cannot constitute themselves to the NWC or the NEC or the convention. It is the convention that has the powers to remove Anyanwu by vote of no confidence. And there is no convention to that effect. So Anyanwu remains the national secretary irrespective of the recommendation or suggestion of the PDP Governors Forum. And we are very much disappointed with the governors because when the meeting was forthcoming, we were eager to see them invite the national secretary to sit with him and resolve every matter, because that is the only issue that is causing a little bit discomfort in the party. But to our greatest surprise, the governors now came and said they are appointing the deputy national secretary to act. It's alien. Now let me give you two instances. The present governor of Taraba State.
Allow me to interrupt
Please,
you.
go
I'm
ahead.
wondering, what this decision, reveals about the balance of power within the PDP and, of course, the influence of the Governors Forum. If the governors do not rescind their decision, how will this impact the party's internal dynamics and relationship between different factions of the party?
Well, let me correct the impression. We don't have faction in the party. We have interest in wrangling or group. And let me say that it will impact the party in a very heavy dimension. Because let me tell you, as we speak today, Senator Anyanwu is the only recognized signatory in INEC. So the party cannot call for convention without the signature of the national secretary. So it is a matter that the governors cannot sit on their own to decide, because it's a constitutional matter. And when the Supreme Court made the pronouncement that all political party determines the leadership of their party, in line, the governors do not look at that part, in line with your constitution. So if you are looking at the constitution, Senator Anyanwu remains the national secretary. If you are looking at the judgment of the Supreme Court, Senator Anyanwu remains the national secretary, because in his prayers, which they also refuse to recognize, he said he should be, he's the national secretary of the PDP. The Supreme Court should confirm or state otherwise. And the Supreme Court unanimously upheld the prayers, all the prayers of Senator Anyanwu. And there is no time Udeh-Okoye is in this picture. Udeh-Okoye might be, acting a drama, but not in this picture. There is no point in time the position of the national secretary has been in dispute. That is just the truth.
Certainly this crisis is going to be pivotal for the PDP, but what lessons can you all learn from managing the very divergent opinions and stances that you have within the party in order to unite and form a one front in order to unseat the APC when elections come around?
You see, I want to say that our governors are progressing in error, and their action is retrogressing the party. We respect them, but we will tell them the simple truth that their action is anti the Constitution. And we want to urge them, the way forward and the way to bring about unity in the party is to invite the National Secretary, in this case, Senator Anyanwu, to a meeting and discuss with him and recognize the fact that he is the National Secretary. He's resuming after Easter, and nobody can stop him, because that is what the Constitution has provided, that he remains a secretary. So if our governors mean well for the party, if they are not agents, as been alleged in some quarters, of the ruling party to destabilize the party, because seven of the governors are first-timers to secure their second term, and the rest to secure maybe senatorial seat and the rest. If they are not doing that, then they should call Senator Anyanwu, sit with him, and work with him to ensure that we convey our convention, produce our national officers for the next 4 years, and also ensure that the party comes up with credible candidates for the 2027 election. Because their action, not only in the secretary's position, if you look at the Constitution, even the action of appointing a caretaker, what is it called? A convention committee, it is the function of the NEC. Look at section 30, section 33. You will see it's a function of the NEC. It's not the Governors Forum. The whole of the PDP constitution that you see, the whole of this constitution, the Governors Forum is not mentioned. There is nowhere the Governors Forum is mentioned. They are not an organ of the party. So they cannot make a binding resolution for the party. If they have any position they want to take, they would have gone to the NEC and, postulate and project their position, but not go to the press and announce after their meeting that this is the way the party will follow. It is unconstitutional. I say, learn to the Constitution. We will not accept their kinetic force to enshrine illegality. We will not accept it, and we reject it in its totality. And we are urging Senator Anyanwu to unfairly resume after Easter to continue with the affairs of the party. That is the position of PDP members.
Well, you certainly stated your position, and of course the governors have also taken their position. So I'm wondering how easy it will be at this point for the PDP to reconcile the conflicting interests and loyalties within its ranks, considering how protracted this crisis has become.
No, there is no different opinion. We are talking the Constitution. We are not talking opinion. I've shown you the sections. If you want me, I can read some other sections for you.
But just,
it is not opinion. It is the sections of the Constitution.
The Supreme Court says the issue of party leadership is an internal affair. And the governors are, they are members of the party. So they also have a right to choose who they want to be the national secretary of the party.
See, that is the area I want the media to help and resolve the crisis in the internal wrangling in the party. The Supreme Court says it's internal party affairs. The Supreme Court also says whatever you are doing in producing your leadership, you must abide by the Constitution, which is the grand norm of your party, to ensure that you produce those leadership. It is a failure to obey the Constitution that drags parties to the court, which the Supreme Court frowned out. No, the Supreme Court did not say just it's an internal affairs of the party. Abide by your Constitution, and that is what we are telling the governors. Abide by the Constitution of our great party. Don't constitute yourself to be the Constitution. Section 2 made it clear that the Constitution of our party is supreme, not minding whether you are the president of this country produced by PDP, you must obey the Constitution of the party. So there is no two ways about that. I am not speaking opinion. I am speaking the Constitution. That is what I'm speaking. If you look at section 67, 1G, it says National Convention means the largest meeting of PDP at national level, which is the largest authority of the party, where decisions are ratified, our presidential candidates and national officers are elected. It is not an opinion. I'm talking about Constitution. I asked our governors to reference one section of the Constitution backing their action. There is none in our Constitution. There is none. There is none. So that narrative they are pushing cannot stand, because it's totally illegality. I will not accept illegality, because Nigerians are looking up to PDP to produce credible leadership for its party and subsequently credible candidate for the country. So we will not accept illegality at this point, because Nigerians will not trust us. And the governors should not make the party a laughing stock. That is what we are urging them by supporting illegality.
So as it is right now, the Deputy National Secretary position, in your opinion, exactly who should that fall to?
No, the National Deputy Secretary remains the National Deputy Secretary. He's not the Secretary. If you look at Section 36.2 of our Constitution, he acts in the absence of the National Secretary, not when the National Secretary is there. You cannot have a National Secretary and have a substantive National Secretary and the Deputy is there. No, you cannot act like that. So it's when the National Secretary is not in position or is not available, then he will hand over to the Deputy National Secretary, just like Senator Anyanwu did when he was going to campaign for his gubernatorial election. We have the former National Treasurer from Ekiti State. He contested in Ekiti State. He came back, continued his job as a National Treasurer. We have the President Deputy National Publicity Secretary of our great party. He went to a state of Kebbi, contested, he lost, he came back. We have the I remain the National Deputy Publicity Secretary. We have the President Governor of Taraba State. He was the state chairman of PDP. He contested as as governor. He won the primaries. He won the general election until he was sworn in before he left as as state secretary. So on what ground? Ab initio, the position of the National Secretary was not vacant. There was no point in time in the history of PDP these 4 years that the position was vacant. And Anyanwu was elected in the convention for 4 years, not 2 years. So those things should be corrected because the governors, there are a lot of fallacies in their resolution. I'll give you another fallacy. Do you know that they said they are waiting for the Southeast, a recommendation of a candidate for the NWC? There's nothing like that in our constitution. If there is vacancy, let's assume it, but not conceding there is vacancy for the position of the National Secretary. It's the NWC, not the Southeast Zone. These things should be clear. The governor should not mislead Nigerians. And that's why we said no. What we are saying, we are not speaking opinion. We are speaking PDP Constitution. The governor should come and speak PDP Constitution and not opinion. Because their resolution, Resolution 2, Resolution 5, Resolution 6 is alien to the Constitution. It's anti-PDP because it's not in PDP Constitution. And we condemn it totally and call for them, moreover, Resolution 2, to withdraw it with apology to the party and apology to Senator Anyanwu as the National Secretary. That is what we are demanding for the PDP governors. We are not saying opinion. It's in the Constitution. I repeat, I ask our PDP governors to reference one section in this Constitution that backs their resolution. There is none. I dare them. There is none in this Constitution. So we should not start our rebranding or our progression with illegality. Senator Anyanwu led NWC and most distinguished Ambassador Umar Damagun led PDP are doing very well. What we expected the governors to do is to support them and ensure that we conduct a free and fair national convention, that those new leadership will emerge, but rather they are picking somebody that for a position that somebody is already there, constitutionally, legally, politically occupying. It's wrong. We should tell them the truth, no matter the rank they have in the party. We should tell them the truth so they don't mislead. Look at the Constitution. Nothing their action is illegal. I want our governors to know that. If their minders are not telling them, we are telling them that, look, your resolutions are illegal and will not stand.
No,
so
well
please
said.
Apologize to the party for this.
Okay.
And Senator Anyanwu, that is what we are demanding from them.
Very well said. We hear you loud and clear. Now, seeing as the Supreme Court has thrown the matter back to the PDP for resolution, and with the different positions emanating from high-ranking members of the party, is it possible, perhaps, that the PDP lacks the ability, to manage its internal affairs and make decisions that benefit the party as a whole?
No, we don't like that capacity. It's greed. I will not be economical with the truth. It's greed. Proxy war. Some of the governors are fighting proxy war with the National Secretary. Why will you do that? Because the Constitution is clear, for crying out loud. For God's sake, it's clear. Anyanwu is the National Secretary. All the sections are here. I can read all the sections to you. So there is no dispute. We have that. But some governors are bent on ensuring that the PDP does not remain one. So they can work with the present government, the ruling party, to undermine the party. That is what they are doing. If not, what will it take to invite the most distinguished Senator Samuel Anyanwu to a meeting and discuss with him as governors of the party and say, look, okay, look at it and resolve matters and let the party move forward. Rather, you are appointing somebody. How would they feel? Now, let me tell you something. Their action is illegal. They are going to same Supreme Court to talk about the Rivers State emergency rule. Same Supreme Court, they refuse to honor their judgment. Same Supreme Court, you refuse to respect their pronouncement. They are going to them for interpretation. If you are coming to equity, come with clean hands. That is what we are saying. Our governors should know that and not bring this kind of thing to the public. And that's why we are demanding apology from them. They have embarrassed the party. They have embarrassed the national chairman. They have embarrassed the office of the national secretary. They have embarrassed Senator Anyanwu. They should apologize and withdraw their resolution. Resolution 2, number 1. Resolution 5, number 2. Resolution 6, because they are all unconstitutional. They don't have the power to appoint members of the National Convention. It is there in the Constitution. It's the function of the NEC.
Well,
so we are calling on them to withdraw it.
Well, we will watch as the situation unfolds in the future. Of course, we'd like to thank you for joining us this afternoon. PDP Chieftain Daboikiabo Warmate, thank you for joining us on Newsday.